Hello, my name is Richard Bell, and I am a member of the Founders Group and Board of Directors for World Housing. We're standing on the rooftop level of the Union Gospel Mission's Women and Families Center against the beautiful backdrop of the Coast Mountains on the traditional unceded lands of the Coast Salish people. We welcome you here as we gather to celebrate the opening of this amazing community. World Housing is honored to have brought our donors together who, along with other contributors, helped fund this project. The Women and Family Center stands on three key pillars that World Housing believes create sustainable change: safe housing, health, and education. It is truly a first of its kind in Vancouver's downtown east side, providing transformative supportive housing and a continuum of care that will allow all who live here to overcome the cycle of abuse, addiction, and homelessness. It enables children to stay with their mothers, further strengthening the potential for these families to remain together and grow in a place of independence. World Housing's vision is a home for everyone, and since 2013, we've funded and built thousands of homes and built communities for the world's poorest around the world. But prior to this project, we had not funded a project that helps combat the issues of homelessness in our own backyard. The Women and Family Center is a first for World Housing. We're so proud to be part of this amazing community in our own hometown of Vancouver. On behalf of the entire team at World Housing, I'd like to first thank everyone at Union Gospel Mission who make all this possible. It is through their dedication and relentless passion that this building has come to life and will be open to those in need for many years to come. Our team also wants to thank World Housing's major contributors, S&P Real Estate, MLA Canada, Dye & Durham, Bell Alliance, and Chicago Title Insurance Company of Canada. Your generosity has funded homes that will truly create a legacy of change. Before we get started on the tour, I'd like to welcome John Ryder, the Senior Vice President of Chicago Title Insurance of Canada, and his guests. Chicago Title has been a World Housing Ambassador since 2019 and has funded homes in our communities around the world. John and his team are here with us today as major contributors to the Women and Family Center. Thanks for all you have done and continue to do to support World Housing. At this point, I'll turn it over to our host from Union Gospel. We hope you enjoy the tour. Thanks, Ryan.
This building, in many ways, is a miracle that has happened. So we entered this process with a dream of providing services for women and kids in a much more holistic way. Women and kids are traditionally very underserved in the downtown east side. And so we wanted to right that and start to create a better system for women to have a way out of their situation, for kids to have a better future. There's a study out of Harvard that looked at women who had 5 years of support. They had just as much success as someone who had never been in addiction before. So we knew we wanted to have a long cycle of support for women so that they really have an opportunity to first just to settle, because the circumstances that many are coming from, they need just resting time first. They need 5 years to detox of the substances, to learn what it means to be a parent, to learn what it means to be a healthy individual. There's so many layers, and in traditional programs, you can't change a habit in 30, 60, or 90 days. You can get sober and maybe come off of the substance, but you haven't addressed any of the trauma that's underneath, any of the triggers that are going to lead someone right back into addiction. So we knew we wanted to do it differently, and this is built on a 5-year model of care. So a woman coming in can go through a number of different steps in her process, and then hopefully leave as an independent woman and someone who's ready to live somewhere else in the community. We serve many Indigenous women, so it's important for us to be as welcoming as we can in every way possible. You'll notice throughout the building there's a lot of art that represents the Indigenous communities. We've hired Indigenous artists as part of this process, really just trying to create a safe space for our Indigenous guests. So we're 7 stories, 77,000 square feet. And as the building goes up, it's kind of a continuum of care. So this ground level is for basic outreach services. So there's a lot of women who will live either in other buildings around here, maybe they're still homeless, maybe they're working in the sex trade, and maybe they just need some toiletries or a shower. second, and third floor are recovery floors. So that would be the next step for a woman to come into. 4, 5, and 6 are transitional housing. So after recovery, she can move right into transitional housing, still have support, aftercare, but be a little more independent. And then the 7th floor is our daycare floor. So women who are living in this building have access to childcare, because that's a major barrier for so many. The other model that we try and achieve is having a continuum in one place. A problem that many face is recovery is in Surrey. Housing is in Abbotsford. People have community here for one. Whether it's healthy or unhealthy, this is their community, so they want to stay here. They also don't want to be learning how to trust someone new to go to the next phase. There's just so many gaps in that system that people fall off. So to have a system where they come in, they get to know who we are, we get to know them, we know their kids, they develop trust in us, they can then continue to move forward here. If they relapse, we know who they are. We say, hey, come on back in. We know that's part of your process. They don't have to go through that whole thing again with someone new. You may have noticed this when you came in, but this is the donor wall. We hired an artist, Jody Broomfield. I love how it turned out. We wanted it to be an art piece and a celebration of support and something that people, residents who are coming in, feel good about. Everyone feels positive about it. So 36 million came together extremely fast for us over 14 months. Thank you to World Housing and Chicago Title and all the others who contributed. It was an amazing thing to see how community came together. We have an after-school program, grades 2 to 7. And then we have a teen program. They come here after school from Strathcona Elementary, which is just a block up. Our workers are helping them with homework. There's just a voice in their life that's like, you can do this, you can get through school, because these kids often struggle with that. We want to make sure they have a safe place. They can get some food. There's a classroom, there's a computer lab, there's an outside play space, so a basketball hoop. The second floor is our moms and babies floor. So a woman on this floor, she is a mother who has recently delivered her baby, came through addiction and was at BC Women's Hospital in the First Square unit there, who help women come through their addiction and pregnancy. If they don't have a space like this to come to, then most often the child and the mom are separated. The child goes into foster care. Unfortunately, often the mom goes back into addiction. Unfortunately, often gets pregnant again, and it's just a horrible cycle. And that trauma builds up over and over. There's a high proportion of people in the downtown who came through the foster care system. So this horrible cycle is not working. So moms can come here with their baby. They live in one of our 9 suites. They get around-the-clock care. It has to be 24-hour supervision. Even if you have the most support that you need, it's a lot. If you've never been parented, the fundamental stuff that I take for granted, we probably all take for granted, is just not a reality for them. So they have this brand new baby. They might still be kind of battling their addiction, no history of family support. The odds are so stacked against them. So they come to one of these beds here and they can, first of all, just rest. So the first 3 months is just to stabilize. Then the next 6 months is recovery, and then there's 3 months of transition. So 12 months total, roughly, they'll be in these suites here. So one of the things that they're implementing is called attachment biobehavioral catch-up. Just the idea that mom and baby, it's critical that they form some level of attachment at the early age, and if you don't, that kind of manifests itself throughout that child's life. These mothers don't know how to do that. They've never been attached to themselves. So there's a series of 10 coaching sessions where the mom learns what that means, how to look for cues from the baby, how to give the baby cues back. The baby in that time of life is all about those nonverbal cues, like what happens when I cry? Does my mom respond to me? Does she look at me in the eyes? All those things that the baby just craves. Often they don't get. So we're teaching even that, what does it mean to be responsive to your child like that? Those are the things that break cycles, right? That's the thing that means that kid, when he goes to school, if he doesn't have that, he's now the loud kid who doesn't know how to self-regulate. It just ostracizes him even more. It's such a compounding on top of that these kids and parents are trying to figure out. So there's 9 of these suites. So this is exactly what a mom and baby will come into. All the furnishing, it's all furnished. Some things that I take for granted as a new parent, the ability to put your child on the floor for tummy time for many women in other spaces. It's not a safe place or a clean place. The goal of this building is also to help reunite families. So for a lot of these women with us, they might have other children who are in care. So if they have a suite that has multiple bedrooms and the required space, sometimes that means the child is back in their life again. And back in their life in a way that's supportive and not just isolated in some unit where, again, they're trying to figure out, how do I parent a 13-year-old? I've never had a 13-year-old, or whatever the situation might be. So this is transitional housing. So women are still, it's not independent housing, they're still part of programming. They're still getting aftercare, but they're at a later stage of their journey. So this part of the stay would be roughly 4.5 years. So they've gone through recovery for 6 to 12 months, and then they're in this phase for 4.5 years where they're really starting to stabilize. So this part of the journey is about equipping with skills, with experience. There's scholarships available, so if that's what they want to do, they can get support to go to school. From the beginning, they're aware of kind of the maximum timeline, but then we have case managers who are helping them find housing.
I just want to thank everyone for joining us on this tour. But in particular, I obviously want to thank Union Gospel Mission for creating this absolutely incredible facility for women trying to better their lives. I think that you can't walk around in this tour without getting a little sort of teary-eyed, because you realize how fortunate so many of us are and how this organization is creating opportunities for others. So a big thank you to Union Gospel Mission, and a big thank you to Street to Homes, because they introduced us into this project. And for World Housing, this is our very first project that we've done in Canada. We've done a few things in the rest of the world, but this is truly special because it's home for so many of us that are participating in this program. So again, what can I say but just thank you very much.
You remember at the end of last year, I talked to all of you on our holiday Zoom call about the amazing work that we are invested in to help people in our community. As a company, we are involved in putting people in their homes. Last year, we did a project where we built a library and a home for a family in Cambodia. This year, World Housing had focused on a project in Canada, recognizing that there are housing needs here as well as around the world. I've never seen a facility like this. It truly is a life-changing facility for these people and for us as a company. So I truly, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank all of you for your hard work, because everything you do has been towards us being a company that gives back to our community and helps those truly in need.